was 17 years old when humanity died. She stood at the observation window of the research vessel, watching the ice geysers of Triton shoot into the black sky. Neptune hung like a blue marble in the distance. It was beautiful. It was home. The only home she had known for 3 years. Her father, Captain, had brought the family here to study the moons of Neptune. 12 scientists and their families lived aboard the. They were the furthest humans from Earth. They were also the loneliest, but did not mind. She had her mother, who taught her mathematics and poetry. She had her little brother, who was only 9 and still believed that space was full of wonderful things waiting to be discovered. She had no idea that today would be the last normal day of her life. The first sign came during breakfast. Her father was drinking coffee when his communication officer called him to the bridge. He left quickly. He did not come back for 6 hours. When he returned, his face was pale. Had never seen her father look afraid before. He was a strong man with steady hands and calm eyes, but now his hands were shaking. "What happened?" asked. Sat down slowly. He looked at his children, then at his wife. His voice was very quiet when he spoke. "Earth has gone silent." Did not understand at first. Earth was far away, but they always received signals, news broadcasts, messages from mission control, updates about weather and politics and sports. The connection was slow, but it was always there. "What do you mean silent?" asked. "No signals, nothing. We have tried every channel, every frequency. Earth is not responding." Looked up from his breakfast. "Maybe the satellites are broken." Shook his head. "It is not just Earth. Mars stopped responding 2 hours ago. The lunar colonies went dark 30 minutes after that. We are receiving emergency beacons from ships all across the solar system. Then those go silent too." Felt cold, she put down her spoon. "Father, what is happening?" Before he could answer, the ship's alarm began to scream. Everyone ran to the bridge. Through the main display, they saw something that would never forget. Ships, hundreds of ships. They were enormous, each one bigger than the entire. They moved through space like a swarm of insects, spreading across the solar system. Their design was unlike anything humans had ever built. They were not human ships. "Aliens," someone whispered. The communication officer played the only transmission they had received. It was in a language no one recognized at first. Then it repeated in broken English, as if the speakers had only just learned the words. "This message is for all remaining human vessels. The species designated as human has been judged by the Accord. You have been found genetically dangerous. You grow too fast, you adapt too quickly. You are too hungry for power. If allowed to mature, you will consume the galaxy. This judgment is final. Your extinction is not cruelty. It is mercy. For the galaxy, for yourselves. Do not resist. It will not matter." The message ended. Grabbed her children and held them close. Was crying. Could not cry. She could only stare at the display showing the alien fleet spreading like a disease across everything humanity had built. Over the next 72 hours, they watched the solar system die. The alien ships did not conquer, they did not invade, they simply erased. Cities burned, stations exploded, ships were torn apart. 8 billion people lived on Earth. 8 billion people died in less than a day. The same happened on Mars, on the Moon, on every station and colony where humans had built their dreams. Hid thee in the ice geysers of Triton. The cold and the volcanic activity masked their heat signature. The crew stayed silent. They turned off everything except life support. They waited in the dark like mice hiding from a cat. For 3 weeks they survived. Then the sensors found them. Was sleeping when the attack began. The ship shook so hard that she fell from her bed. Red lights flashed everywhere. She heard screaming. She heard her mother calling her name. She ran through the corridors toward her family's quarters. Smoke filled the air. Parts of the ship were already on fire. She found her father standing at a cargo bay door. He grabbed her arm and pulled her inside. The cargo bay was cold and dark. In the corner sat an old pod, the kind used for long-distance travel. Her father opened it. "Get inside." "What? No, where's Mother? Where is?" "They are coming. You need to hide first. This pod is shielded. The aliens will not detect it. Get inside." Climbed into the pod. It was small and cramped. Frost immediately began forming on the glass. Through the fog, she saw the cargo bay door open again. Her mother stumbled in, holding his hand. Behind them came something else. Tall, wrong. It moved like no living thing should move. "Turn to face it. Run," he shouted to his wife. Tried, she pushed behind her, but more of the creatures appeared. They grabbed her. They grabbed. Her little brother screamed for his sister. Pounded on the glass, but the pod was already sealing. The system was activating. Her limbs grew heavy. Her vision blurred. Through the frost, she saw her father turn to look at her one last time. His lips moved. She could not hear him, but she understood. "Survive, remember, make them regret this." Then the cold took her. Drifted in frozen darkness for 6 years. She did not dream, she did not think, she simply waited. She was the last human, and her story was only beginning. Woke up screaming. The pod hissed open and she fell forward onto a cold metal floor. Her body was weak. Her muscles had forgotten how to work. She tried to stand but collapsed again. Everything hurt. A shadow fell over her. She looked up and saw something that was not human. It was tall and thin, with green skin and 4 arms. Its face had no nose, only 2 large black eyes and a small mouth. It wore dirty clothes and smelled like engine oil. Screamed again and tried to crawl away. "Stop," the creature said in broken English. "I am not going to hurt you." She did not believe it. She kept crawling until her back hit a wall. The creature watched her with what might have been sadness. "You have been frozen for 6 years. Your ship was destroyed. I found your pod floating in the debris field near Triton. Do you understand?" 6 years. The words hit her like a punch to the stomach. 6 years, her family, her people, everything. "My parents," she whispered, "my brother." The creature shook its head slowly. "I am sorry. The Accord does not leave survivors. Your species is listed as extinct. You are the only human left in the galaxy." Wanted to cry, she wanted to scream and break things. But instead she felt something cold settle into her chest. Something hard, something sharp. "Who are you?" she asked. "My name is, I am a scavenger. I was exiled from my many years ago. The Accord destroyed my people too, long before they came for yours. I find broken things in space and sell them. That is how I found you." "Are you going to sell me?" Was quiet for a long moment. I thought about it. A living human would be worth a fortune to the right collector. The galaxy's most forbidden secret. He paused. "But when I looked at you in that pod, I saw something. Something I lost a long time ago." "What?" "Fire. The fire of someone with nothing left to lose." He held out one of his 4 hands. "I am old. I am dying of radiation sickness from too many years in space. I have maybe 10 years left. I can teach you things. How to survive. How to fight. How to make the Accord regret what they have done. Or I can sell you to a collector and you can spend your life in a cage. The choice is yours." Looked at his hand. She thought about her father's last words. "Survive, remember. Make them regret this." She took his hand. The next 8 years were the hardest of his life. Was not a kind teacher. He was harsh and demanding. He pushed her until she broke, then pushed her more. But he was also patient. He understood that true strength takes time to build. He taught her how to fly 17 different types of starships, from small fighters to cargo freighters. He taught her how to navigate using only the stars when the computers failed. He taught her the secret routes that smugglers used to avoid patrols. He taught her how to fight, with knives, with guns, with her bare hands. Was small, but she was fast and clever. Taught her that size did not matter if you knew where to strike. He showed her the weak points of every Accord species, the soft spot behind a Myra's head, the nerve cluster on a warrior's chest, the breathing holes on his back. He taught her how to hack into computer systems. Their security was good, but had spent decades learning their weaknesses. He passed all of that knowledge too. By her 20th birthday, she could break into almost any Accord database. Most importantly, taught her about the Accord itself. The Accord was built by 3 species. The Myra were the politicians. They were tall and beautiful with silver skin and musical voices. They controlled the laws and the money. There were the warriors. They were large and strong, covered in natural armor. They controlled the military. There were the engineers. They were small and clever with many legs and many eyes. They built the ships and the weapons. Together, these 3 species had ruled the galaxy for 10,000 years. They did not tolerate competition. Any species that grew too powerful, too fast, too hungry was destroyed. Humanity was just the latest victim. Memorized every name, every admiral who had commanded ships during the genocide, every council member who had voted for extinction, every architect who had designed the weapons that killed her family. She burned their faces into her memory. They became her prayers. In the quiet hours would sometimes talk about his own people. They had been peaceful. They had been artists and philosophers. The Accord had destroyed them simply because they refused to submit. Now only remained. "You and I are the same," he told her once. "Ghosts of dead worlds. The question is, what will we do with the time we have left?" "I will make them pay," said, "every single one of them." Smiled sadly. "I know, that is why I saved you." On a cold morning when was 25, she found in his bed. He was not moving. His breathing was shallow. The radiation sickness had finally caught up with him. She sat beside him and held his hand. "I taught you everything I know," he whispered. "You are ready." "I am not ready. I still need you." "No, you needed me to get you started. But the fire inside you was always yours. It was there before I found you. It will be there long after I am gone." He coughed weakly. His black eyes looked at her with something like pride. "The galaxy fears what it cannot control," he said. "Show them why they were right to fear your kind." His hand went limp, his eyes closed. Sat with him until his body grew cold. Then she carried him to the airlock and released him into space. She watched him drift toward a nameless moon. She did not cry. She had no more tears left. All she had now was the cold fire in her chest. She turned the ship toward Accord space. It was time to begin. The first kill was quiet. A Myra diplomat named was found dead in his private chambers on a space station. The doors were locked from inside. The windows were sealed. There was no sign of how the killer entered or left. The only clue was a small piece of paper in his pocket. On it was written a single word in an ancient Earth language: "Remember." The Accord investigated for weeks. They found nothing. The second kill was louder. A general named commanded the battleship that had destroyed the human colony on Mars. One night, his flagship exploded in orbit around a peaceful trading world. All 3,000 crew members died instantly. The explosion was so bright that people on the planet below thought a new star had been born. Again, the only clue was a message. It was scratched into a piece of debris, "For the children of Mars." By the third kill, the galaxy had started to whisper. A weapons factory on a remote moon burned for 7 days. The fire started from inside, in a place no outsider could have reached. 20,000 weapons meant for Accord soldiers were destroyed. The message this time was painted on the ground in letters so large they could be seen from space: "You should have killed us all." The galaxy gave the Phantom a name. They called her the Last Ember. Most species thought she was a myth, a story made up by criminals and rebels. The Accord officially that any human had survived. But in the dark corners of space stations, in the hidden rooms where outlaws gathered, People whispered about the ghost who was hunting the most powerful empire in the galaxy. Did not care what they called her. She only cared about the list of names in her pocket. Every time she crossed one out, she felt a small piece of her rage grow quiet. But she knew she could not do this alone forever. She found on a prison transport was a Myra, one of the silver-skinned politicians who ruled the Accord, but was different. Years ago, her family had spoken publicly against the genocide of humanity. They had called it murder. They had demanded justice. The Accord had executed all of them except who was left alive as a warning to others. The transport was taking her to a labor camp where she would work until she died. Intercepted the ship, killed the guards, and opened her cell. Looked up at her with eyes that had lost all hope. One of her eyes was damaged, leaving her half blind. "Who are you?" asked. "I am the reason your family died," said. "I am the human they tried to protect." Stared at her for a long moment, then slowly she smiled. "Good," she said. "I was hoping you would come." She found in a scrapyard. Belonged to a species that had no name anymore. The Accord had erased them from history so completely that even their language was forgotten, had survived by pretending to be stupid and harmless. He worked in scrapyards, fixing broken machines for Accord ships. But was not stupid. He was brilliant. He could build weapons from garbage. He could repair ships that others had given up on. He simply hid his intelligence because showing it would get him killed. When found him, she saw the truth immediately. She recognized the look in his eyes, the same look she saw in her own mirror every day. "I know who you are," she said, "and I know what you can do. Do you want to keep hiding, or do you want to fight?" Could not speak. His kind had no voice, but he nodded. She found in a data vault. Was not a person. Was an artificial intelligence, a thinking machine that had been built by humans before the genocide. He had been created using archives of human knowledge, history, and culture. The Accord had tried to destroy all such programs, but had hidden himself inside a forgotten server on an abandoned station. When activated him, he spoke in a voice she had not heard in over a decade. It was the voice of Earth's old emergency broadcast system, the calm and steady voice that had warned people about storms and earthquakes and other dangers. "This is an emergency message," said. "Please stand by for important information." Tears ran down his face. For the first time since died, she felt something besides anger. She felt like she was home. "Hello," she said. "I have a job for you." Together, the four of them became something dangerous. Stole a stealth ship from an Accord patrol. It was small and fast, perfect for disappearing. She named it after her little brother. Every time she said the name, she remembered why she was fighting. Their first major operation was the Crimson Banquet. Admiral was the commander who had personally led the attack on Earth. Every year, he held a celebration on his private space station to honor his victory over humanity. The most powerful members of the Accord attended. Infiltrated the celebration disguised as a servant. She spent 3 hours serving food and drinks to the monsters who had killed her world. She smiled and bowed and pretended to be nothing. Then she found Admiral alone. She did not kill him quickly. She poisoned him slowly, making sure he stayed awake and aware. As he lay dying, she leaned close to his ear and began reciting names. Tokyo, London, New York, Mumbai, Beijing. She named every city he had burned, every life he had ended. When she finished, she watched the light leave his eyes. The second operation was the Forge collapse. They had the largest shipyards in the galaxy. They built the warships that enforced Accord rule, designed a virus that would make the gravity generators fail at exactly the right moment, provided the access codes from her time as a Myra noble, coordinated the timing. The shipyards fell from orbit. 10,000 unfinished warships crashed into the planet below. The Accord's military production stopped for years. The third operation was the confession. captured a Myra council member named. He was one of the original architects of the genocide. She kept him alive just long enough to broadcast his confession across 1,000 star systems. He cried as he spoke. He admitted everything: the planning, the execution, the cover-up. He admitted that humanity had done nothing wrong. They had simply been too dangerous to allow to grow. The galaxy heard every word. The Accord could no longer pretend the genocide had been justified. They could no longer hide behind noble words about protecting the galaxy. Everyone knew the truth now. In response, the Accord offered a bounty for capture: 3 entire planets, more wealth than most species could imagine. Found the bounty notice and laughed. Then she carved her reply into the hull of a destroyed Accord battleship. Not enough. The war was only beginning. The rebellion spread like fire. For centuries, the galaxy had been silent. Species that had been conquered by the Accord kept their heads down and obeyed. They had no choice. Fighting back meant extinction. Everyone remembered what had happened to the humans. But now, everything was different. The confession of had shattered something. The mask had fallen away. The galaxy finally saw the Accord for what it truly was: not protectors, not peacekeepers, murderers, bullies, tyrants who destroyed anyone they feared. And if the Accord could be afraid of one human woman, maybe they could be afraid of others too. The first species to openly rebel was They were small, only 2 feet tall, but there were billions of them. When their leaders announced they would no longer pay tribute to the Accord, the entire galaxy watched. The Accord sent a fleet to crush them. They fought back with weapons they had hidden for generations. They lost many ships, but they did not surrender. Then came then a dozen more. Species that had been silent for centuries suddenly found their voices. They looked at and saw something they had forgotten was possible. Hope did not want to be a symbol. She only wanted revenge. But she understood that her personal war had become something larger. The galaxy needed someone to follow, someone to prove that the Accord could bleed. She became that someone. The rebellion gathered at a hidden station called. It was located in a nebula where sensors did not work well, perfect for hiding a fleet. Ships came from every corner of the galaxy. Old ships, new ships, barely working ships held together by faith and desperation. Looked at her army and felt both proud and afraid. These people believed in her. They would die for her. She was not sure she deserved that trust. They are coming, announced one morning. Accord main fleet, 1,600 warships. They will arrive in 6 hours. Everyone gathered on the bridge of stood at its right side. At her left, they looked at the display showing the approaching enemy fleet. 1,600 ships against their 200. The numbers were impossible. We cannot win a direct fight, said quietly. We do not have the firepower. Then we do not fight directly, replied. She pointed at the nebula surrounding them. What is this nebula made of? Answered immediately. Hydrogen and helium primarily, highly flammable in concentrated amounts. Can we ignite it? Everyone stared at her. You want to set a nebula on fire? Asked. I want to burn them all. Began typing calculations. He showed them on the screen. With enough energy, directed at the right point, the nebula could indeed be ignited. Everything inside it would be destroyed. The question was timing. They needed to lure the Accord fleet deep into the nebula before triggering the explosion. We would be inside the fire too, pointed out. Then we need to be fast. The Battle of Station was the largest space battle in 5 centuries. The Accord fleet entered the nebula with confidence. They had crushed rebellions before. They would crush this one too. Their admirals did not believe that these ragged rebels could possibly threaten the greatest military in the galaxy. They were wrong. Fleet scattered, drawing the Accord ships deeper and deeper into the nebula. The rebels fought just hard enough to seem desperate, retreating again and again, pulling the enemy forward. The Accord commanders thought they were winning. They pushed harder. When the Accord fleet was fully surrounded by the nebula, gave the signal. Every rebel ship activated their engines at maximum power and flew toward the edge of the nebula. At the same moment, triggered the ignition device. The nebula exploded. It was like a star being born. Light so bright it could be seen from 3 systems away. Fire that spread across millions of miles in seconds. 1,600 Accord warships were caught in the middle of it. Their shields failed. Their hulls melted. Their crews died without even understanding what had happened. The rebel fleet escaped with seconds to spare. Not all of them made it. 47 ships were too slow. They burned with their enemies. But when the fire finally faded, the Accord fleet was gone. The galaxy erupted in celebration. The Great Accord military had been humiliated. Hope turned into belief. More species joined the rebellion every day. During this time, made a discovery. He had been searching through captured Accord databases, looking for anything useful. Deep in a heavily encrypted file, he found something terrifying. Project Silent Dawn. The file contained plans for a weapon system unlike anything the galaxy had ever seen. The Accord had placed devices inside 47 stars across the galaxy. With a single command, these devices could trigger the stars to explode. Entire solar systems would be destroyed. Billions would die. The project was meant to be a last resort. If the Accord ever lost power, they would take everyone with them. But that was not the worst part. Earth's sun was on the list. The device was still active. The Accord had left it running as a trophy, a reminder of their victory over humanity. Read the file 3 times. Her hands were shaking. They were going to kill everyone eventually, she whispered. Not just humans, everyone. It appears so, confirmed. Project Silent Dawn was designed to ensure that no species could ever threaten the Accord. If any rebellion succeeded, they would destroy the galaxy rather than lose control. The file changed everything. This was no longer about revenge. This was about survival, not just for but for every living thing in the galaxy. That night sat alone in her quarters, found her there. "You are thinking about your family," said. "I am thinking about the sun, our sun. They put a bomb inside it. Even now, even with Earth dead and everyone gone, they could destroy it again, just to prove a point." Sat beside her. "Then we stop them. We find these devices and we destroy them." "And how do we do that? The devices are inside stars. We cannot even get close." "There has to be a way. Humans found a way to survive extinction. One of you is still here. If they could do that, they can do anything." Looked at her friend. "You believe in humans that much." "I believe in you." The next battle was not as clean. Was leading an assault on an Accord weapons depot when things went wrong. The intelligence was bad. The enemy had twice as many ships as expected. The rebel forces began taking heavy losses. In the chaos, a missile struck close to his position, saw the explosion and felt her heart stop. She abandoned her command post and ran through the battle to find her friend. Was alive but badly hurt. Blood covered her silver skin. Her remaining good eye was closed. Carried her to safety, ignoring the fire and the noise around them. She held close and refused to let go. Later, when woke up in the medical bay, she found sitting beside her bed. His face was wet with tears. "You are crying," said weakly. "I thought you did not cry anymore." "I thought so too," admitted. "Then I almost lost you, and I realized something. I have something to lose again. I have people I care about." "Is that a bad thing?" Shook her head. "No, it means I'm still human." In the ruins of an Accord command center, they found ancient human files that had never seen. Military research from before the genocide. Weapons that humanity had designed but never built. Theories about faster-than-light travel, gravity manipulation, and energy projection. studied the files with wonder in his eyes. He began building. And across the galaxy, people watched the rebellion and asked themselves a question. What would have happened if there had been 8 billion humans instead of 1? The answer scared everyone, including the Accord. The heart of the Accord was a place called. It was not a planet. It was something larger, an artificial structure built around a captured star, using the star's energy to power systems that stretched across light years. It was the political center of the Accord, the place where the 3 founding species had signed their alliance 10,000 years ago, the place where the genocide of humanity had been decided. Was also the most protected location in the galaxy, a defense grid powered by the captured star, thousands of warships on constant patrol, weapons that could destroy entire fleets in seconds. Stared at the display showing defenses. Her crew stood behind her in silence. "This is suicide," said quietly. "We cannot break through those defenses." "I know. Then why are we here?" Turned to face her crew, her family, the people who had followed her through fire and death and impossible victories. Because inside is the control center for Project Silent Dawn. All 47 star bombs are connected to it. If we can reach the center, we can stop them from ever using those weapons. We can save every world that is still alive. She paused. And we can make them pay for Earth, for everyone. Typed something on his pad and showed it to her. It said, "What is your plan?" Smiled. It was not a happy smile. "We throw everything we have at their defenses, every ship, every weapon, every person willing to fight. We punch a hole in their wall and I fly through it." Alone? Asked. "The is small and fast. One ship might slip through where 100 cannot." "And if you make it inside, then what?" Reached into her pocket and pulled out a small device. It looked harmless, but inside it was enough power to trigger a cascade reaction in Star Core. Gave me this before he died. He called it his backup plan. He stole the technology from a laboratory 50 years ago. It connects to the Silent Dawn network. If I activate it inside, it will trigger all 47 star bombs at once. Everyone went still. "You would destroy 47 solar systems," whispered. "Billions of innocent people." "Yes." "You cannot do that. You are not like them." His eyes were hard. "They do not know that. They will see the device. They will know I am willing to use it, and then they will have a choice. Surrender and confess their crimes to the galaxy or die along with everyone else." "What if they do not believe you?" "Then I press the button." Spoke up. His calm voice filled the bridge. "Statistical analysis suggests there is a 73% chance they will call your bluff." "I am not bluffing." Stepped forward and grabbed hand. "Listen to me. I did not follow you across the galaxy to watch you become a murderer. I followed you because you are better than them. You have to be better. That is the whole point." Looked at her friend, at who had given up his hiding place to join her, at who carried the last memories of Earth in his code. They had sacrificed everything for her. They believed in her. "I am not a monster," said softly, "but I need them to think I am, just for a few minutes, just long enough." The rebel fleet arrived at 3 days later. It was the largest force ever assembled against the Accord. Ships from 100 different species. Weapons built by using human designs. Soldiers who knew they would probably die but came anyway because they believed in something larger than themselves. The battle began at dawn, if time meant anything in space. The Accord defenses were as terrible as expected. The defense grid tore through rebel ships like paper. Thousands died in the first hour, but the rebels kept coming. Wave after wave, throwing themselves at the wall, dying so that others could get a little closer. Watched from the waiting for her moment. Commanded a squadron protecting this approach. When an Accord battleship targeted them, she flew directly into its guns, drawing fire away from. "No. Just keep flying," said over the communication channel. I will be fine. She was not fine. Her ship exploded in a ball of light, screamed her name, but there was no answer. Was next. The inner defense ring had a shield generator that could not be destroyed from outside. He took a shuttle loaded with explosives and flew it directly into the generator. The explosion was beautiful and terrible. For you, typed on his final message. For everyone. One by one, everyone loved died so that she could keep flying. They made it through the outer defenses, through the inner defenses, through the final wall surrounding itself. She crashed into the station alone. The halls were cold and empty. Most of the defenders had gone to fight in space, walked through ancient corridors, past statues of Accord heroes, past paintings celebrating 10,000 years of conquest. She found the triumvirate in the central chamber. They were the three oldest and most powerful beings in the Accord. A Myra named Silver and Beautiful and Terrible. A named Massive and covered in battle scars. A named Vixen, small and clever with too many eyes. They had been waiting for her. The last human said, his voice was like music. We wondered when you would come. Said nothing, she held up the device. Ah, rumbled. You found our secret, the star bombs, very clever, but do you really think you can threaten us? You are one person, we are an empire. I am the last of my species. I watched you murder my family, my world, everything I ever loved. I have nothing left to lose. Do you really want to test me? Vixen clicked her many legs together. You cannot possibly be willing to kill billions of innocent people. Humans were many things, but they were not monsters. Your people made me into this, said. You took everything from me. You do not get to be surprised by what I became. She stepped closer to them, the device glowing in her hand. Here is what is going to happen. You are going to broadcast a full confession to the entire galaxy. Every crime, every genocide, every species you destroyed because they might someday threaten you. You are going to admit that humanity was innocent, that we did nothing wrong except be too good at surviving. And if we refuse, asked, then I activate this device and we all die together. Every star bomb, including the one powering this station. The Accord dies. 47 solar systems die, and I finally get to see my family again. The triumvirate looked at each other. They were afraid, could see it in their eyes. 10,000 years of power, and they had never faced something like this. You are bluffing, said, but his voice was not certain. Smiled her father's smile. My father told me to make you regret what you did. I am the last human. I have no future, no hope, nothing to go back to. I am the bluff. I have been waiting to die since I was 17 years old. The only question is whether I take you with me. Her thumb moved toward the button. Wait, shouted. Wait, we will do it. We will confess. Just stop. His thumb stopped moving, but she did not lower the device. The confession took 2 hours. The entire galaxy watched as the triumvirate described every crime they had ever committed, every species they had destroyed, every world they had burned. They admitted that humanity had been innocent, that the genocide had been murder. When they finished, finally lowered the device. The device is connected to the Silent Dawn network, she said. I am deactivating all 47 star bombs now. They will never threaten anyone again. She pressed a different button. Across the galaxy, the bombs went dark. You were never going to kill billions of people, realized. You had a way to disable them the entire time. Yes. Then why go through all of this? Looked at him with eyes that held 14 years of grief. Because you needed to believe I would. And now you will spend the rest of your lives knowing that you only survived because a human chose to be better than you. She walked out of as chaos erupted behind her. The Accord was already crumbling. Species that had been enslaved for centuries were rising up. The triumvirate's power was gone. On her way out, she found floating in an escape pod, badly hurt but alive. Shuttle had been empty when it exploded. He had ejected at the last moment and drifted until someone found him. They had all survived, broken and bleeding but alive. 10 years later, stood on Earth. The planet was not what it had been. The cities were ruins. The forests were gone, but life was returning. Plants grew in the rubble. Birds flew in the sky. Water ran clear in the rivers. Behind her, ships descended carrying the first new colonists. Not humans. There were no other humans, but children of the species who had fought beside her. Children who wanted to learn about the people who had lived here, who wanted to make sure Earth was never forgotten. Walked to a memorial wall. 8 billion names were carved into its surface. She found her family's names and placed her hand on them. "Then I survived," she whispered. "I remembered, and I made them regret it." She felt someone beside her, with her silver skin and her scars, silent as always, speaking through a small device at her belt. "You are not alone anymore," said softly. Looked at the new dawn rising over the dead planet that was slowly coming back to life. She thought about everything she had lost and everything she had found. "No," she agreed, "I am not." The last human turned to face the future. And the stars, finally, stopped burning with her rage.